This man opened his golden pupils. At a glance he saw a green color in the broken stone in front of him. The green stone was an emerald, so even though he only had $3,000 on him, he offered $4 million just to be able to auction off this stone. Tom the rich kid laughed at him and said, "Do you have that kind of money? You'd be better off picking it up at a stall." He had his assistant raise the price to $5 million, but Jack didn't give up. He called for $8 million. His companions were shocked and rushed to stop him. Mike told him that the stone looked good on the surface, but no one knew what it would look like when it was cut. If it doesn't come out 2 inches thick, it's a waste of money. At this point Tom was also a bit hesitant. He wasn't worried about the money but about the embarrassment if he lost the bet. But the assistant said confidently that this stone could produce at least 4 inches of green. When Tom heard that, he immediately asked for $9 million, but this time Jack didn't make an offer. After all, he's not as rich as Tom. Finally Jack went to the waste rock area. He was going to buy a low-priced stone for fun. He activated his golden pupil again. Soon he found one with emeralds, so Jack bought it for $3,000, and he's going to try to decode it on the spot. At this point Tom once again mocked Jack, saying that he wanted to make money by spending $3,000. Gambling isn't like antiquing. Suddenly a man walks up and says, "Life is full of surprises. It's all about luck." The man who spoke was Jerry, one of the biggest names in the jade industry. He took the stone and examined it carefully. He didn't think it was a good stone either. He told Jack that this stone doesn't seem to have any emerald, but Jack smiled and said he didn't know it was bad until he cut it. Jerry then drew a cutting line on the stone. Let the professionals follow the line to cut, while Tom watched from the back. Soon the first cut is finished, and sure enough there's nothing there. Some people mocked that the first cut didn't even show any green color. Why didn't he just throw it away? Tom was happy to hear that, but Jack was not at all panicked. He asked the professional to make the second cut. Next thing you know, the stone has an emerald. It's worth almost $100,000. Jack's companions were very happy, but Jack didn't stop there. He asked the professional to make a third cut. Everyone advised him to stop. If he cuts it, he'll lose everything, but Jack was very determined. The professional had to follow Jack's instructions and make another cut. After cutting the stone, everyone was shocked. Jerry said that behind this foggy crystal is a whole block of ice jade. The price of the stone soared to $18 million. Businessmen are rushing to buy it. Jack said to Tom that the $3,000 became $18 million. How many times has it doubled? Tom was immediately humiliated. He immediately asked to cut his $9 million stone. He wanted to humiliate Jack. An ordinary stone can fetch $9 million. What's the secret inside the stone? Tom asked to cut the stone on the spot, and the first cut reveals an emerald. Immediately someone offered $10 million to buy this stone. Jack said $10 million would net him $1 million, but Tom doesn't care about $1 million. He told the professionals to continue cutting the stone, because the emerald underneath was even greener. Sure enough, after the second cut, the price of the stone skyrocketed to $30 million. Jack said, "If it were me, I'd just sell the stone." Tom was very angry. He said to Jack, "How can you be the same as me?" And then he told the professionals to go ahead and cut it. The cutter did what he was told. He went on to make the third cut, and before the stone was even opened, Jack said there was no emerald. When his companions heard that, they rushed forward to check. Sure enough, there was nothing. It turns out that there is only a little bit of emerald. The buyer who offered $30 million just now shook his head and left. Luckily, he didn't make a deal. Jack came up to him and said it's okay. This is just a small amount of money for Tom. And Tom had to say $30 million is just for fun. Then he gave the stone to Mike, and then he left in disgust. In fact, Jack had anticipated all this. Before the auction, he used his golden pupils to see that the jade in this stone was only 1 inch. The stone is not worth much, so when Jack saw Tom's arrogant behavior, he intentionally raised the price. He made Tom pay $9 million for the stone, and when he cut the stone, he deliberately provoked him to make a third cut. In the end, all the money was gone. Jack looks like a sheep, but he's more cunning than a fox. But what happened to his golden pupils? It all started with a robbery a few days ago. Jack was on duty in an antique store that night. Suddenly, a few robbers came in. During the fight, Jack's eyes were accidentally scratched by the antique pieces. When he woke up again, not only was his eye fine, but something magical happened to it. This man's eyes are covered with gauze, but he can see through the gauze and through the concrete wall. He saw the nurse next door without underwear. Jack was so scared that he hastily took the gauze off his eyes. He thought he was hallucinating after the eye injury. Then a friend came to see him and threw him an apple. But as soon as Jack was ready to eat it, he saw through the skin that the apple was bad, and there was a worm crawling inside. He didn't believe it, so he bit into the apple. Sure enough, there was a worm. Jack looked up and saw a mole on the doctor's face under his mask. He asked the doctor to take off the mask to verify the truth. Sure enough, the mole was exactly the same as the one he had just seen. Not only that, when Jack went back to his antique store, he was able to see the story of the antique through the surface of the antique. Jack was very puzzled. His eyes were just scratched. How can he have supernormal capabilities? When Jack got home, David took out an old object and showed it off to him. David said this is the treasure he bought for $60,000. This little bottle is worth at least a few $100,000. Jack took the bottle and activated his golden pupil to take a look. The bottle was manufactured a month ago. It's just a handicraft and it's mass-produced. David didn't believe it when he heard about it. He asked to go with Jack to sell it at the antique market, but the owner of the store immediately rejected him. David said, I haven't made an offer yet. The owner said, don't delay my business. You go to another store to look at it. David was not satisfied. He went to a second store and acted mysteriously. He told the owner that I have 100 years old antiques here. Are you interested? The owner's eyes lit up when he heard that. He asked him to take it out and look at it. After looking at it, the owner held up 5 fingers and said $5. Jack couldn't help but laugh. David angrily dragged him to the next store. Jack suddenly saw that the gourd in the owner's hand is a valuable antique, so he asked the owner if he would sell it. The owner asked for $2,000. Jack was happy to do so, but David stopped him and said, $2,000 for a gourd? You're a fool. He was about to drag Jack away. The boss stopped him and said, take the $600. Jack immediately took the money and gave it to the boss. At that moment, Tom's girlfriend also saw the gourd, so Tom asked for $10,000 for the gourd. David held out his hand and said $50,000. Tom agreed, thinking it's just a black gourd, but Jack says it's not black, it's red. Tom mocked Jack and said that Jack's eyes are not working. The gourd is black. You tell me where it's red. But then an old man said it could really be red. And this man is Max, a master of antiques. He just happened to be passing by, so we asked him to appraise it, and Max took one look at it. He offered him $100,000 for the gourd. Tom laughed. He couldn't believe this black gourd was worth $100,000. You're all working together to cheat me, right? Then Max said this gourd is not black, it's red. Tom said, I'm not color blind. Max saw that he didn't believe him. He ordered someone to bring copper oil and gauze paper. Just a little rubbing and the red color appeared immediately. Max said this is a famous gourd from the Guangxu period. The gourd's material is hard and its skin is solid. The grasshoppers can live comfortably in it, and their calls are louder. It was the most sought-after gourd 100 years ago. That's why the price was $100,000 less. The owner was very sorry to hear that. He said, I can't believe I'm selling this gourd for $600. Tom said he'd take the gourd for $300,000, but the owner offered $600,000 to take it back. Tom said $800,000. David is very excited and agrees to sell it. The boss couldn't beat Tom's offer, so he turned around and left. In just a few minutes, $600 became $800,000. The two men are very excited. Jack and David had made their first pot of money. David hugged Jack and said, we're going to be rich. If you also have a golden pupil, what do you want to use it for?